Welcome to the On the Air podcast, a companion to On the Air magazine, a bi-monthly magazine from ARRL for beginner to intermediate ham radio operators. I'm your host and the editor of On the Air magazine, Becky Schoenfeld, W1BXY. Welcome to the August 2023 episode. As part of ARRL's designation of 2023 being the year of the volunteers, this year every issue of On the Air features an article about specific volunteer positions within the ARRL field organization. In the July-August 2023 issue of On the Air, we focused mainly on volunteer positions who handle traffic, on-air traffic. But we also covered the section-level position of Technical Coordinator, also known as TC. Today, we're joined by Steve Simons, W1SMS, who is the Technical Coordinator for the Connecticut Section. He is here to tell us a bit about what the Technical Coordinators do and how they can help you with ham-related questions and projects. Welcome, Steve.
Good morning, Becky, and thanks for including me in this podcast.
Well, thanks for being here. So, Steve, how long have you been the Technical Coordinator, and how did you get involved in it in the first place?
Well, I was originally appointed back in 2016, and at that time, Betsy Doan, K1EIC, was the Connecticut Section Manager, and she knew about my technical curiosities and interests, and then approached me asking if I were interested to participate.
So the TC is appointed by the section manager. So I imagine that you had some discussions with Betsy and came on board from there.
I did, definitely. She knew about my technical curiosities and interests, and she said, I have a position for you. And a lot of the people on the board I already knew from years of being here in Connecticut, as well as attending a few meetings and seeing folks at Hamfests and other ham-related gatherings.
What kinds of things were you interested in at the time? What kinds of things were you involved in that seemed to make you a good fit for this position? Are there certain types of things that qualifications, activities, interests that make a person a particularly good candidate for being a TC?
Well, I believe that the position and the appointment really is best filled by a ham that is curious about all aspects technical of the hobby, and of course willing to mentor and or assist others with problems to solve, and willing to dive deeper and learn yourself sometimes, because you get involved in things that maybe you're not an expert in, but you have people at your fingertips that are. Also, having a technical background in industrial radio frequency power and antennas sort of helped with my experience set, and as well background experience and years of being a ham since 1974 have definitely helped all the problem-solving parts of this appointment.
How would you describe what you do as the technical coordinator? Are there things that you are required to do? Or is it more sort of you take it as it comes and whatever kinds of situations and questions arise? Or are there set things that you have to attend to?
So as this is a volunteer appointment, sometimes you ask and sometimes you don't ask what exactly you're getting involved with. So shortly after I accepted the position, I reached out to a couple of local technical coordinators in other states. And I solicited their advice. What should I be doing? How best, in their experience, to assist. Both of them actually said I should start with technical subjects that I know and bring in others into my group that would help me expand upon the knowledge base of the group itself.
So you mentioned your group. Is that group, there's a position that that reports to and supports the TC, the technical specialists, the TSs. So when you say your group, would that be the technical specialists for the section?
Yes, definitely.
So they recommended that you get some technical specialists to help you out. Were there ready candidates? Were there people that you instantly had in mind? Did you really have to go searching? What was that? How many do you have now, and what was the process like of finding those people?
Well, a couple of things. First, what I tried to do is understand, again, a little bit better about the position. So I went to the ARR website, which is a great resource. And there are two resources in my life. One is my ham radio life. One is the ARRL website. The other one is the handbook. I have a full collection of, this is the latest one, but I have a full collection of handbooks. Lots of knowledge. Every ham should own one. End of story, because I do refer to it a lot, whether it's in physical or digital format. And looking at the website, the technical coordinator is responsible to coordinate, organize, and conduct all technical activities within the section. And a technical coordinator must be an ARRL full member holding a novice license or higher class. And starting with that, I took a look around at various members of clubs, because obviously that's a great source of inspiration as well as of people. And at this time, we're a committee of one because we're in a rebuilding process. However, in the past, I've had individuals that have been highly technical in different areas. In some cases, it's been antennas. In some cases, it's been computerized control of stations and other kinds of switching related to ham radio.
What is the structure like? When you have technical specialists, do you talk to them regularly? Are there regular meetings as questions or matters come in that need the attention of the TC and the TS? How does all that work? How do you stay in contact with each other?
Well, regular scheduled types of meetings are certainly good. These days, it's a whole lot easier since all the states are larger. Some are larger than Connecticut, and it's difficult to get in. So you can do it electronically, but every 6 months to 12 months is a good frequency of meetings. And it all depends on the size of the organization, as well as certainly the problems that you're called upon to solve, which certainly brings up another point where the technical coordinator, as well as the section manager, who the TC falls under, needs to market the skills of their cabinet as well as their appointees to say to members at large within the section, hey, we're here to help. What can we help with? Is it a technical problem? Is it some other problem? So yes, and in the past there have been calls that have come in for assistance on various topics.
And as you said, marketing this service to the local hams, would that be maybe going around to club meetings to let folks know? Would that be going out in a section newsletter?
All of the above.
Yeah.
Certainly, person-to-person contact is good. Hams are great, sometimes behind a microphone and sometimes face-to-face. And you make all of those kinds of relationships by attending ham fests, local club meetings, as well as one of the things which I'll get into a little bit further is presenting technical papers at local club meetings. That's a great way to get the word out and to discuss a topic that you're most interested in. And in some cases, you even find the audience interested in it.
What kinds of things over the years have you found yourself helping out with, and is there a way that it breaks out into, this is something that I'm going to handle as the TC, or this is something that a technical specialist is going to handle? What kinds of things get brought to you for help, for resolution? In
some cases, it's a technical problem, let's just say with an emergency operations center, an EOC, and the various EOCs around the state want to talk to each other when the normal communications are down. And as many know, Connecticut is filled up with lots of hills and valleys, and in a lot of cases, the EOC centers are in valleys, and in some cases you can't count on repeaters and other kinds of communication between the various stations. So in some cases I have helped solve problems, how to be clever, use my experience in terms of helping with point-to-point communications and troubleshooting a problem. Why can't the other station hear me? So that's been some of the problems. Some of the other problems, which are unique to most hams, are interference to other services, such as transmitting on your HF radio and perhaps interfering with your stereo system or a TV or somebody else's equipment, or in some cases getting interfered by somebody else's piece of equipment, electrical noise interference, things like that. So there have been a number of cases that have come through where we've had discussions and a little bit of tutorial and perhaps a resolution. In teaching hams, in resolving problems for say an EOC or an individual ham, is there an element of teaching that goes into it? Always. Sometimes you have to be a good problem solver and understand what the problem is. Sometimes the problem is technical, sometimes the problem is not technical. It's personnel. And then you have to take a look and see, okay, how do we best solve this problem? So as a TC, you have to be a jack of all trades a little bit, and call in others in some cases. And if it's technical, not one person knows all the technology. I have my specialties, and certainly it's good to have somebody on your team that has a different ability, or even if it's overlapping with your capability, a different approach to solving a problem. Not all solutions work the same. Yeah, certainly. You know, maybe you get a fresh pair of eyes, a fresh perspective in there, somebody whose knowledge base is a little different, and suddenly something that was, you know, sort of a roadblock, somebody knows just how to clear that because they're coming into it fresh. Definitely. In the case of presenting papers to clubs, that's been my most favorite, actually, because you get up in front of an audience, Sometimes it's a club with 10 or 15 folks. And in some cases, it's a regional conference, up to 200, 250 people that are in attendance. Some of the topics that we've covered are antenna erection and tower safety, which is a big one. I have a lot of experience under my belt climbing towers, installing antennas. Sometimes things don't go as planned, but one needs to be safe these days. And that's been a very well-received paper. One of the best papers that I've given, which is quite interesting, is on lightning protection. And that one has actually been the highlight of most of the papers that I've given. And in one case at a contest club, the paper was supposed to be about 45 minutes, ended up being an hour, and then the Q&A afterwards continued for sufficient time that it had to go into a different room to continue because we were at the end of the time. So you know, with those kinds of papers, you hit a chord. You struck something that people have an interest in. So those are the funner parts of being a TC.
With the papers, I was wondering, are they, do you put those together based on situations that you've been in as a TC where you've solved a problem, or are the presentations more informational and preemptive, sort of, you know, here's an issue a lot of us face, here's how to do this right, or is it a combination of the two?
I believe that it's definitely a combination of the two, because part of presentation is to understand the audience. In some cases, you present at a contest club, and this is an audience of experienced hams that have a lot of big stations, and they're not necessarily interested in the rudimentary aspects of how to get an antenna from that you built on the ground up to 150 feet in the air. They're more interested in how to keep it up there and experiences that you may have that would help them going forward. Things like lightning protection. I've personally had my station hit twice, and yes, I have experience there, but it's important to back up what you have as far as your personal experiences or experiences helping out others with the technical knowledge, a reference to pages in the handbook, pages of technical journals, or perhaps web pages. There's a lot of great information out there on YouTube and other digital formats that you can call into play. Sometimes it's where do I get parts for my project, and resources, and my industrial background in manufacturing brings me to lots of vendors that could help out. So it's all a combination of various things, experiences, and written knowledge that it's not plagiarized. It's always taken and presented properly with who originally wrote it, but it fits in, and it's pieces of the puzzle that you have to present. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of cases, the way I like to present is interactive. So you stop, you listen, see what somebody has to say, because you can read people from the front, and there's always a question waiting to come out.
So it sounds like there's a lot to this. You mentioned the EOC level, you mentioned the club and convention level, you mentioned the individual ham level. So there are a lot of places where you enter into a situation and can be of service, can provide information. How much time does this all take you, say in a week? How much time do you devote to TC duties?
Well, on the average, I would say an hour or two a week. But if you're out there giving papers, certainly travel time and time doing it, and perhaps a dinner prior to that adds up with time. So it's not a lot, and again, it's as much as you want to give it. It's a volunteer type of position. You could take it extremely seriously, or you could take it as a hobby. And although a lot of us take our hobbies pretty seriously, so it could be a couple hours, it could be more. Depends on what you want to devote to it.
What do you personally enjoy about being a technical coordinator? What do you get out of it? What keeps you in this position? And also, do you have any favorite stories from serving as TC about issues that were particularly gratifying to be part of in figuring out?
I believe that it's the give back. Over the course of time, being licensed since 1974, my interests have always been technical. And there's always a challenge of how do I build that? How do I understand that? How do I fix that? How can I help others fix that? And then early on, getting involved with clubs, there were a lot of group build it kind of situations that helped. Today is taking all those years of experiences and certainly looking, and helping. And when you get a thank you, and my problem's been solved, or I got some more insight into how to solve the problem, or I've learned something. And again, that's a thank you. And sometimes it doesn't come directly. Sometimes it comes through other channels, and but you've helped, and that's the biggest part is being able to solve a problem, and we all have problems today. It's you're building a station, maintaining a station, and certainly interoperability with other stations. And like I said before, it's most of it's technical, but sometimes it's getting people together. Hey, you need to talk to this person. This is a good resource, and putting two people together. It's a little bit of salesmanship.
And like you said, putting together the resources. The ham community is, that's where ham radio really exists, is out in the community. And that's how the information's been passed down from generation to generation, is by folks sharing their expertise, sharing, what they know. And it sounds like you're very much involved with keeping that information flowing.
Yes, definitely. And again, people have to know that you're out there. Your team is out there. So it's important that at a minimum, you get around maybe an insert into various club newsletters. Your section manager is certainly the right person to do that, because they have a report that they submit that's includes a lot of various things. So the clubs in a state definitely need to know what their resource capabilities are.
In the July-August issue of On the Air, you mentioned that you were working on putting together a monthly meetup for hams who wanted hands-on assistance with projects. I was wondering, where does that project stand? When does it look like that might get up and running?
Well, that's an extremely timely question, because the first one, the inaugural one, is on August 12th.
Oh.
And yes, what we're going to do, we're going to start easy. This is going to be a build session for wire antennas.
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be at MyQTH, and we'll have provisions for testing the antenna, some pulleys to pull it up into various trees. We will build antennas. We will discuss the manufacturing or the construction techniques. And then we will move on to testing. I'm going to have some older test equipment and some really new test equipment that a brand new, very inexpensive VNA, which is a vector network analyzer. And I've been really looking forward to wowing some of the club members with this new device. But it's going to be a little bit of a tech session on how to. How do you use the equipment to make sure that the antenna that you built works? So this will be a start. We have approximately 3 hours to accomplish this, and then we'll light the barbecue up and have some burgers afterwards. That's the plan. That's great. Well, I'm glad to hear that's getting off the ground. I will make sure to circle back with you and find out how it went. Okay, well, we're looking forward to some more complex projects, maybe some bench projects here, and it takes a little bit of motivation to get some of the newer hams actually comfortable with a soldering iron. People do a lot of things with computers today, and computers are great, but you can't build an antenna by clicking a mouse. You actually have to cut some wire and string it up and test it. So this will be more of the practical side of things, and looking forward to it. Yeah, that's great. That really is what people need. That's what we hear about it on the air too. So that's terrific. I wish you luck with that. Yes, thank you very much. Do you have any advice for the on-the-air audience who tend to be beginner hams on how to get help from their local technical coordinators and technical specialists? I know that if they go to www.arl.org/sections, members can click on their state, find out who their technical coordinator is, but from there, what's the best way to reach out? The local level at clubs, your local general purpose club, is a great place to start. Certainly reaching out to the league and an email or a telephone call is a way to go. I guess these days probably emails and texts are the best way to go, because nobody answers phones anymore. Yeah. So that's a good place to go. A question too is what is your interest? And in some cases you have hams, newly licensed hams, that now have time because they're retired, and maybe they had a career in technology, so maybe they don't need basic information, maybe they need more advanced information. So you have a lot of specialty clubs. Certainly you have contest clubs around the United States and around the world. And that is a great place because the folks that are in these clubs are certainly very technically capable. And then there are other specialty clubs. I belong to a couple of weak signal VHF, UHF clubs, and these are the guys that are experimenting with above 50 megahertz, and in some case many gigahertz communications and building equipment. So you definitely search out the technical coordinator and the technical specialists, and the best way is certainly to go to the ARRL website, but certainly through the local clubs and regional clubs that may have a specialty or general purpose version. That's a good place to start. So yep, your local club hopefully is there for you, and of course ARRL is there with information at arl.org. There are lots of publications from the league that are very, very relevant. some of the technical guides and the how-tos, as well as lots of information that's published on the web. I always search and see what others are doing, both professionally and in the ham radio world before I tackle a problem. And like everything else, you have to vet the information, you have to look at it and see how it's applicable to your interest.
All right, well, thanks very much, Steve. We're here with Steve Simons, W1 SMS, the technical coordinator for the Connecticut Section. And Steve, it's been a lot of good information. I thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Becky, and thank you, and thanks to the league and 7-3.
Okay, the On the Air podcast will be back in September, 73.